Thank you, Honourable Chair, and honourable members of the committee, and to everyone present, and to the people and media. Apologies from our side, the evidence presenters, for the delay and the inconvenience caused, and we also thank the General for his patience and his cooperation. And thank you for the opportunity to meet with him again, to consider and to consult about some of the issues that were raised before the adjournment. We have amended the statement, the original statement, by deleting reference to initial and supplementary, deleting that, and also at paragraph, the old paragraph 8, we've amended it to read as follows. I consulted with the committee's evidence leaders on 25 and 26 September 2025. This is my statement to the committee in response to the terms of reference, where I deal with certain factual matters canvassed in Annexure NSM 3, which is the statement made before the Nhlanhla Commission. I include those details as an annexure to this statement. My statement, as well as the annexures included in volumes 2 and 3 of my witness bundle, encompass all my evidence before this committee. So, Chair, I respectfully submit that the concerns, the issues that have been raised have been fixed, cured, in consultation with General Mkhwanazi, and I would respectfully request that you swear him in so that we can commence to lead his evidence in accordance with his statement.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think what I should do, because you have now formally presented the statement, let me rotate between the members before we administer oath. The report that you present here is a report that the members have directed. So it will be fair that I give them an opportunity to impress on it. I'm starting with the rotation.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Let me thank the evidence leader as well. The African National Congress is satisfied at the reading that the issues that we had identified as defects of this statement, being a supplementary statement, do seem to have been cured, as the evidence leader says. We trust that with thorough reading of the document, indeed, that will be confirmed. So we're happy to proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honourable Sango. Honourable Nomvalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we are noting the amendments that have been made, and in our view, they have been made in accordance with the instructions of this committee. So we can't postpone this any further. South Africans want to hear the General testifying before this committee. So here is an opportunity, and we can't postpone. Let the work of the committee start now.
Honourable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. There's a small matter which we wish to put it on record. And I want to thank the evidence leader. Though it is regrettable that the senior counsel chose to open with a preamble in the morning, presenting personal opinion, as thought they were established, fact and citing matters of the Zondo Commission or the so-called State Capture Commission that remain contested and currently under judicial review. This committee, this ad hoc committee, in the interest of procedural progress, exercise restraint and refrain from challenging these assertions. Even more concerning, Chair, is that the senior counsel apparently disregard for this constitutional separation of power between the executive and Parliament, a principle essentially to the integrity of these proceedings. Such conduct is left, if it's left unchecked, risk of undermining this committee work and setting the unfortunate precedent for the future engagements. Accordingly, the committee must be careful and consider whether the time spent under these circumstances should be treated as billable and what measures, if any, are appropriate to ensure the adherence to Parliament protocol going forward. And I wish to thank as well you, Chair, of handling this matter with caution and with the sensitivity it deserves. And I wish to thank the Provincial Commissioner General Mkhwanazi for him to be still with us. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chair. We've gone over it and everything looks fine as was proposed. So it's fine from our side. We can proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Economic Freedom Fighters.
Let's proceed, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mkhwanazi. The IFP.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chair. I think we can proceed. We're satisfied with the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mango. The Patriotic Alliance.
Satisfied, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, honorable members. We have rounded all the members of the committee, and the strongest feeling is that we should proceed. The next item will be to administer oath on General Mkhwanazi. Before we do that, we must put it on record. Earlier this morning, I informed you that the full member of the Democratic Alliance to this ad hoc committee, the full members are Honorable Cameron and Honorable Breitenbach. So Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Malema and I are members of the Judicial Service Commission, and it is sitting today for the next 10 days. So the reason why Honorable Breitenbach is not here is because she's at the JSC together with the other parliamentary designates there. So the Speaker of Parliament has accordingly informed the Chief Justice about the number of the members of Parliament who will be available for the work of the JSC. And the two of us, Honorable Malema and myself, who are here, why we are unable to be at the JSC for the duration of the October interview. So I just felt I should put that on record so that honorable members and the media should know why Honorable Breitenbach is not here. And so the alternate member for the DA is Honorable Diane Kwalabanat, who is standing in here for Honorable Breitenbach. Thank you so much. Let me move to administer oath on Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of the Police in the KwaZulu-Natal province of the Republic of South Africa. Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, you have been invited to appear before the ad hoc committee to investigate the allegations that you have made, to provide information to the committee's oversight so that it can properly investigate the allegations that have been made, which include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the political killing task force or team, which is known as PKTT, alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, SAPS, and alleged corrupt relationship between senior leadership within the SAPS and members of the public, as well as political interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee, if you so wish, under oath in terms of the powers, privileges and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You have indicated that you wish to take the oath so as to be afforded the protections as provided in the Powers and Privileges Act 2004. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or a committee of Parliament may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act, a person who willfully furnishes a House or a committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offense and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take the oath or the affirmation, and then I will check with you, General Mkhwanazi, if you choose to take oath or affirmation.
I'll take an oath, sir.
Then if you take an oath, you will then have to repeat after what I say, respectfully so. I am going to read the oath. So where I say I, you will then have to mention your names, because the I in this case, because it's me reading, will be referring to Malapi Soviet Nhlanhla. So in your case, you will say I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I swear that the evidence I shall give. May you please repeat after me, General Mkhwanazi, or do you want me to read the whole?
I can say all of it, Chair, if you want me.
Okay, no, it's fine. So,
I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
thank you so much. Honorable members, here we are. I want to thank you, General, for this exercise. Are we ready, Senior Counsel? Because I'm now handing over to you to lead us.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. We're ready to proceed.
Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, General,
Good afternoon, sir.
and thank you again for your willingness to cooperate with us and to spend some time with us drafting your statement. Are you satisfied that the statement, together with the annexures referred to in your statement, is your statement that you make under oath, and that you are personally comfortable with it to swear to this is the truth?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Now, we know why we are here. It arises from the media briefing you held on the 6th of July, and that is referenced at paragraph 3 of your statement, and at paragraph 4 there's a reference to the fact that this ad hoc committee established by Parliament had asked you to present to it in accordance with its terms of reference, which you see, and that was on the 22nd of August this year, and the terms of reference, the relevant or the key areas are referenced at paragraph 6 and at paragraphs 4.1.1 to 4.1.18, which is on page 6. Is there anything in those terms of reference that you want to highlight? We are going to deal with some aspects of it relating to your evidence, but you've seen that and you're familiar with those terms of reference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, you have consulted with us. We spent a considerable time putting together this statement, and the annexures are at volumes 2 and 3, which I see it's either on your soft copy of your computer or hard copy on the left, and we'll make occasional reference to some of those annexures. However, could you, just for the record, it's at paragraphs 9.1 to 9.6, just describe to us your position currently, as well as the previous years you've spent in the South African Police Service as a police officer.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, although I did not want to bore the members with the history since I joined the service, which was in 1993, but I felt it's important maybe to reflect the position I held as a senior manager in the organization in the top executive of the SAPS, which started in 2011, that I performed the task as the acting national commissioner at the rank of a lieutenant general in 2011-2012. And subsequent to that, I had the privilege of not working for a year, but still employed in the police. And a year later, I was then assigned a division facility management as a divisional commissioner there. And after that, I was then appointed as a divisional commissioner of human resource development. And after human resource development, I became the acting provincial commissioner KwaZulu-Natal. And subsequent to that, I moved to the division operational response. And then I went back to KwaZulu-Natal as a provincial commissioner on a permanent basis, which is a position that I'm still occupying until now.
So your movement up the ranks has been quite extraordinary over the years. You rank as one of our most senior police officers, and you are familiar with all the workings within, especially senior police management. Would it be fair to make that statement?
That is correct. I'm a member of the Board of Commissioners in the South African Police Service, which is the top structure of the SAPS.
You also acted as the National Commissioner in 2011 to 2012.
That is correct.
That's correct. The main reason why we are here, it relates to the issue surrounding the political killings task team. So perhaps we could just start by looking at the establishment of that, let's call it the PKTT, when, for what purpose, and how it operates, and perhaps start in 2018. We know that in this chamber, not exactly the same chamber, but in Parliament, President Ramaphosa had made an announcement of the formation of an interministerial committee in this House, and that had been set up to look into the political killings of KZN. Just talk to us about that development and what happened subsequently.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members, the President of the Republic, in his capacity as the leader of the African National Congress, he visited the area of KwaZulu-Natal called Pietermaritzburg, where a member of his political party, Mr. Kzn Mkhwanazi, was killed. And after the visit, the President then addressed the gathering that was outside the House, and this visit was on the 18th of May, 2018. In his address to the public, the President made announcements that he shall establish, or he has given a task to the group of ministers, and he's given them assignment that they must come with a solution, strategies to intervene with regard to mitigating these incidents of the murders of politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So this group of ministers were given timeline of a week to come up with a plan of how this, or a strategy of how this matter was going to be addressed. Honorable Chair and members, I'm not quoting the President directly on his own words, but I invite the members to go on YouTube if you so wish, Google that visit. You will hear in your own words what the President said. And this was a Friday, the 18th. On a Monday, the ministers that were given an assignment by the President, they convened in the provincial office of KwaZulu-Natal at Bramfisher Street in Durban. And that is where the discussion with regard to the plan of how should we resolve these issues, mitigate these incidents of attacks on politicians or political leaders within the province of KwaZulu-Natal was discussed. And then subsequent to that, the President of the Republic appeared before the Parliament, I think that was on the 24th of May, where the President made a pronouncement with regard to the establishment of the Interministerial Committee that is tasked with the responsibility to develop measures that are going to mitigate these incidents of violence that is directed at politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So basically, that is a background of how the whole political killings task team came about, that it was a direction that was given by the head of state to the group of ministers, which are referred to as the Interministerial Committee. And subsequent to that, the work needed to be done, and then the officials ourselves then had to get busy with it.
Thank you. Who was the Minister of Police at the time?
At the time, General Cele was the Minister of Police.
So subsequent to the establishment of that interministerial committee, what role has that committee, or did that committee play subsequent to that, from 2018 through to, say, the end of 2023? I understand the last interministerial committee was held, I think, in September or November of 2023.
On frequent basis, Honorable Chair and members, the IMC will, at the beginning, when they wanted to get the status of what the police are doing in terms of dealing with this crime, a presentation was made to them by the management of the South African Police Service in KwaZulu-Natal at the time. That was done by the Deputy Provincial Commissioner at the time, because the Provincial Commissioner who was there was on suspension. And the ministers were not quite pleased with the level of performance of the SAPS at the time, when looking at the number of cases that were brought to court, number of arrests that were effected, and as a result, a directive was that the police management must come up with a proper plan that is going to have timelines, with a coordinated effort to investigate these incidents. And subsequent to that, the plan was drawn up, which was then approved by the National Commissioner, and the presentation thereafter was given to this interministerial committee, and they endorsed that. They were quite happy with it, and thereafter they will frequently visit to come and evaluate the work that the team is doing, and listen to the challenges that we are experiencing, and try and assist us to intervene in those challenges. And that's how it's been working. And every time when we meet and we give them a status of the work we're doing, they will go and then brief South Africans through the media. They will have a press conference where they give a status update with regard to the interventions they are making. So I like to believe then that perhaps they will have elevated the same report back to the president as a person who had assigned them. So that's how it's been working up until towards the end of 2023, whereafter this interministerial committee has not set. I like to believe it was towards the end of the year when they last met, and then the following year, 2024, the country was gearing itself to go to the national elections. And after the national elections, the new ministers that took roles of that were appointed into positions of those that were responsible for this committee had never convened. So we do not know what is the reason.
Okay. So if we can just pause at the end of 2023, so up until that point, from its formation in 2018, the minister was Minister Bheki Cele, former Minister Bheki Cele.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Who made the presentation and who devised the plan which was then presented to the interministerial committee?
The plan will have been worked out by the team that was given the responsibility in KZN, which will include the officials that were there at the time, and myself as a person who was the acting provincial commissioner, and some of the deputy national commissioners that were there at the time that had to also contribute in terms of development of that plan, a plan which eventually then had to be given to the National Commission for approval. So the National Commissioner was the one who approved the plan that was developed by a different group of senior police officers that were involved.
In terms of this plan, was the PKTT then accountable to the interministerial committee?
The task team was a team that was employed to work and execute police work that had to be approved by the National Commission. So it was accountable to the National Commission, not to the IMC. But the work of the team, the successes and that the team was producing, that the National Commission then had to account to the IMC on the work that was done. I must just indicate, Honorable Chair and members, that at the beginning, it was only the ACPS that was mainly focused on it. But as the time went on, we realized that we're having challenges as we're presenting to the IMC some challenges, which then made the IMCs to give specific instructions to the head of other departments that are within the security cluster to also organize themselves similar to how the ACPS are organizing themselves and dedicate personnel that are going to be focused on these cases. And as a result, a revised operational working was then developed, which then was approved and adopted, and which then was implemented going forward. So the coordination, the presentation that needed to be done to the IMC will then be presented by the group of the head of departments. The National Commission of the South African Police Service, the Chief of the Army, the head of State Security, the head of the Prosecution Authority in the country, the head of Correctional Services, were amongst the heads of departments that were part of this work that was done, which they would present to the IMC in order to account.
Is that where this word multidisciplinary task team comes from?
That's
That
correct.
It was informed by a number of other actors and state actors, for example, prosecution-led, guiding and directing the work of the PKTT to give it a more dedicated focus. Is that where that comes from?
That's correct.
Yeah. So just to perhaps preempt a discussion we might have later, or some of the honorable members may ask of you, when we deal with this directive of 31 December 2024, it will be argued that not by me, I'm not here to present any arguments, but by some implicated, that this was a political initiative. It was a task team established and appointed to perform a particular task from time to time, and the decision to disband or to disestablish it was a political decision, and it was entirely lawful for such a decision to be taken. What would be your response to such a proposition or argument?
Yeah, I'll say they are wrong, Chair. I'll say they are wrong because a minister of police is not a member of political party. The minister of police is executive member that is appointed in terms of the law of the Republic. Is a cabinet member responsible for policing. I don't think the legislature cared as to which political party the member belongs to. So to put a statement and say it was a political decision, what if the minister is not a politician? So I don't think that argument will stand.
Okay, so we'll perhaps explore that a bit later when we come to the Minister's Directive, Minister Mkhwanazi's Directive of 31 December. But just to establish the PKTT as an entity. So this was, is it right, this was not a permanent structure. It was a task team that was established over initially a 6 months period, later on over a year, but it was resourced and financed from the budget of the police, in respect of which all of you as senior officers informed that budget, and it was approved by the National Commissioner. Would that be a correct or a fair summary? Or do you want to elaborate?
Honorable Chair and members, the team, as it was working, the SAPS dedicated specific funds from the national level to be utilized by this team, and it was not the budget that was allocated to the cost center of KwaZulu-Natal as a province. Therefore, it was an extra allocation. However, the other departments, be the NPA, who had dedicated prosecutors working with the team, correctional services, and many SSA, many other departments that were part of the operation, I believe they were using their own line function operational budget to execute the task. But I'm speaking under correction. I'm not sure if they had any specific budget allocation for the project. But in the ACPS, which I can speak on, there was a dedicated budget allocation. It might not have been according to what we had asked for, because the CFO needed to make money available. Sometimes we'll ask for 10 million and she'll give you 5. But there was a specific budget for the ACPS. I'm indicating these, honorable chair members, that so that it's understood that ACPS was using the budget, but not only ACPS was working in this team. There's NPA, there's correctional services, and there's other entities that were using budget. So I can't speak on their budget. So I'm only talking about the ACPS budget.
So would it be fair to say that this, in summary, about the PKTT, it was a political initiative that was then operationalized by or through the Office of the National Commissioner, fully funded, fully resourced by the police, and subsequently also informed by other state actors, like, for example, the NPA and others, to form this multidisciplinary team.
Honorable Chair members, I'll beg to differ again. It was not a political decision that was implemented by the National Commissioner, but it was an executive authority decision that was executed by the heads of departments within the security cluster, which include the National Commissioner.
Okay. So, what role, or what was your role within the PKTT? Did you lead the team? Were you the project leader, or was Brigadier Khumalo was appointed the project leader? Who appointed him as project leader?
Honorable Chair and members, before the meeting of the 21st of May took place, the National Commissioner, as I said earlier when I started, that in KwaZulu-Natal, the Provincial Commissioner was on suspension. The National Commissioner had assigned me to go and act as a Provincial Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal to oversee the province and manage the province. So in my taking up that position, I had requested the National Commissioner to allow me to take Brigadier Khumalo with me to go down to KZN and assist me with the managing of the province, which the National Commissioner approved. So on our arrival in KZN, we were there for managing the province. So when this tasking came, it was a task that was given to the province to make sure that the attacks to the political leaders in our province is somehow minimized, and we're able to deal with perpetrators and put a stop to the incidents that were happening. So by default, the Provincial Commissioner, which was myself, was part of this. That means I had to be responsible for what was happening at the time. As I said, when the plan was developed, it did not only include the Provincial Commissioner alone. So the plan was put together. As a person in charge of the province, initially, I took responsibility for it. And as I moved out of the province, it needed to be overseen throughout the process, including myself while I was out of the province, but overseen by many senior officers that were given a responsibility to oversee the working of the team. So I was a provincial commissioner in the province. The team was given an assignment, a responsibility to a major general who was at the national level, who was at detective services. He was one who was appointed as a project leader, and then he was assisted by 2 brigadiers. So he went on retirement, and another brigadier was then given that responsibility to take over from him. But as I say, they are accounting to the provincial commissioners, myself, and then the accounting was going all the way up to the national commissioners level.
So the budget for the task team, was that allocated at national level, but the task team itself was in operation at a provincial level?
That is correct. The task team was working at the provincial level while the budget was a national budget.
And just describe the command structure and the composition of the team. Was it the officers in the team, were they only based in KZN, or were they drawn from other parts of the country, other divisions, other units?
Honorable Chair and members, the team was made out of different expertise from different parts of our organization, which were drawn from different parts of our country as the organization is spread across, where we need to get the expertise to come and assist. Those expertise were then invited from different stations, different units in the rest of the Republic to come and assist the team.
Just to reference him, because he will also come and give evidence before the committee, did General Masemola at any, he was obviously aware of the existence of the team, and when he became the National Commissioner, he would have been instrumental in approving the budget for the team. Is that right?
The National Commissioner, when this started, the current National Commissioner was not the head of the organization, so he did not approve the budget.
But subsequently,
He was one of the people that were signatories requesting the budgetary approval. But upon assuming the office of the National Commissioner in 2022, he then became responsible person to allocate funds to the project.
this team, was its membership rotated from time to time? And if so, what was the reason for rotating the membership of the team?
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, when the team started, perhaps maybe what I must give as a background, which I didn't talk about, is that although the existence of this team started after the President made a visit in Pietermaritzburg in May 2018, but the incidence of this violence nature in KZN, it's something that was already in existence for a couple of years prior. And it was a concern already, not only within the provincial leadership or executive in the province, but it was a concern at the national level as well, because it was something that, a crime that was directed towards the leaders of our society, which was a concern. And at that time, the Minister of Police sought to direct that the police must do something extraordinary to handle this. At that time, the Minister of Police was Minister Fikile Mbalula. And they had directed that some intervention must be done to try and correct or arrest the situation that seems to be getting out of control. General Masemola, who's now the National Commissioner, was still a deputy at the time. So there was a tasking given to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to say, KZN have special focus on cases that involve politicians, so that you can try and make sure that you improve in terms of arrest and taking cases to court. When this incident continued up until May 2018, when the Interministerial Committee came to KZN, then the committee was given a presentation on what the police were doing in terms of those cases. So the status quo that was there at the province. So they were given those presentations, and upon assessing that, it became clear that the performance of the SAPS at the time was not very encouraging. It was very poor. And it was for that reason then that the IMC emphasized the point that something else must be done to better coordinate and see the speed of finalization of cases. And when the team started working, Honorable Chair and members, as we reconfigured it into what we refer to as PKTT now, because it was a combination of different disciplines, it was not only detectives alone. Before, it was only detectives alone that were working in dealing with those cases. Now, when this team was formed, it had forensic experts in it, it had analysts in it, it had intelligence members that were working in the team, dedicated by different departments within the SAPS or divisions within the SAPS. So some of the things that were then observed, Honorable Chair and members, was that there's a lot of corruption within the South African Police Service, detective members that are carrying dockets. And the team then had to deal with trying to eliminate the rogue members within these cases, because some of the members are carrying dockets, and not because of the poor investigation from their side, but it's a deliberate omission of some of the information that must be in the case docket so that the case doesn't go to court. And that led into an arrest of quite a number of police officers that were working in that team. Quite a number of them to date are still in prison. As we engage, giving this evidence with this ad hoc committee, you'll be privy that some of the members are in cahoot, those members arrested that are in prison. Some of them are now in cahoot with some of the honorable members in this parliament, feeding them with information. So when we discover that these members are this corrupt and they get arrested, and then we realize that we cannot then risk to have more members getting corrupted or be recruited and be paid money. So therefore it is important, we must try by all means to rotate them. So the rotation of members was then influenced by that. Although unfortunately it was not all the members that needed to be rotated. We'll rotate some of them and some of them will stay behind. And a typical example, it's not easy to rotate a detective when he's carrying a docket because he's an investigating officer. But what we made sure is that the detective doesn't work alone. He works with a group of other members around him or her so that we prevent any involvement in corruption, as it were. So yeah, the rotation then took place, and the reason for that rotation was exactly that, what I've explained.
The rotation, did it take place every 6 months or every year? Over what period?
Honorable Chair and members, again, as part of, we put up a plan together and we want to roll it out and have a perfect investigation. But as we realize that we have these bad apples within the SAPS that we try to deal with, we also realize that we have a bad apple within the prosecution that we have to deal with. And we also have bad apples within probably in courts that we have to deal with. We see a case that a team initially, it was said to be going to be working for 6 months. And when the team makes arrest and the cases are brought before court, and the court will schedule a case on the month number 7, when the team's supposed to have stopped. And we then have to request the extension of the team so that the members stay on to continue these cases in court. And when the matter goes to court, when the extension is granted, it's granted for another 6 months. And when this case arrives in court on the month number 7, it gets postponed again to the month number 15, just outside the deployment date. So we then realize that this postponement with timelines, perhaps that's a reason why they are postponing these cases to days after where the member is supposed to withdraw. We then requested to the National Commission, let's change our strategy, let's not put timelines. Let's just keep the team indefinitely for the whole financial year. And from there, we started seeing cases being enrolled in court because then there was no end date for the team. And then the investigation started happening
Yeah.
and cases were then being placed on the court roll.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question about the rotation, because it clearly could or did affect the prosecution of a particular case. If a member was rotated and the prosecution was still pending, it affected the issue of until when do you postpone a matter, and when the matter comes back to court, is the officer concerned now still part of the unit, or has the person been replaced, rotated? I asked the question for that reason. Yeah. So let's just talk about your relationship with Brigadier Khumalo. You know each other well. You would describe yourself as good colleagues.
Honorable Chair and members, there are too many Brigadier Khumalos in the South African Police Service. Can maybe the SAP be specific?
The project leader of the team, PKTT.
Yeah, he's a colleague. The head of crime intelligence you're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, he's a colleague. I know him very well.
So, would you still describe him as he's the project leader of the PKTT?
That's correct.
Notwithstanding the fact that he's also been, or had been appointed as the head of crime intelligence.
That is correct.
Given the very important role that crime intelligence plays throughout the service and for the country, was it feasible for him to continue as the leader of the PKTT, given this very wide and important role he has to play as the head of crime intelligence?
Yeah, Honorable Chair and members, we are giving assignment to the South African Police Service because it's something we do all the time in our careers, that we are having a responsibility in terms of your line function. That's what you're employed for, and that's where you are you're drawing a salary from. But then you give in other ad hoc projects on the side. Typical example, if I may use a current project that everyone should know about, that the head of the investigation in the province of Western Cape, which is a province that is too much in the middle of late with regard to incidents of violence that are happening. But the head of investigation in this province has been deployed to France to go and assist, to lead a team in France to go and assist with regard to the investigation of the death of the ambassador. It's a temporary thing. He's going to come back and continue with this province. So it's a common trend across the SAP as we do that.
Now, I was just asking and wondering that Brigadier Khumalo appointed head of intelligence, project leader of the team, and you're the provincial commissioner of KZN. Both of you played key important roles in leading that team. Your capacity to continue to lead the team and to play the role that you had since 2018, was it still possible to do that given your other responsibilities?
That is correct, Honorable Chair. I was in KZN in 2018 and 2019. July, I went back to Pretoria. As I said earlier, I was a divisional commissioner of operational response services, but I still had a responsibility also over the political task team during that period while I was in Pretoria. So
the record, and we're going to come to that in a moment, of the PKTT in terms of combating, fighting political killings and prosecutions, would that have been shared with this interministerial committee when it met, I believe, twice a year? Is that right? Twice a year, the interministerial committee?
Yeah, well, the frequency of the meeting, I don't have it in front of me, but I know on annual basis the committee will meet, the interministerial committee will meet and take reports.
And so that report would be given by the senior management of SAPS,
That's correct?
which includes the National Commissioner and his deputies and other heads of departments.
That's correct.
Were you involved in such a briefing?
Yes, I was, in many of them, I was part of those briefings.
In your capacity as the provincial commissioner, or in your capacity as the leader of the PKTT? And the role that you played there, you clearly played an instrumental role in its establishment and the subsequent work that it did. But we know also from your employment record that you were at head office and then assigned sometimes to KZN and also to the Western Cape, and so there was quite a bit of movement, but you continue to play this role within the PKTT.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I will be providing the presentation to the Interministerial Committee as the person responsible for the province in KwaZulu-Natal and responsible for the project at the time. But when I moved to Pretoria, I was not as much involved in terms of briefings. So the briefing were handled by General Khumalo in the main. Because I will also be traveling from Pretoria, coming down to KZN, and he would give the presentation as a person that was always in the province.
Yeah. So certainly at a political level, when you reported to the Interministerial Committee, they would have been aware of the work that the PKTT was doing. You would report to them whether people were being arrested, whether they were being prosecuted, and whether these prosecutions were successful or not successful. In other words, their record would have been shared with this committee at least on an annual basis.
Honorable Chair, members will always give presentation to the Interministerial Committee as on a strategic level, without going deeper into the details of the investigation in terms of saying who is a suspect and who are the people intending to questions and so forth. It would be safe to just say to them, in this case, we've identified the suspects involved and we've effected an arrest on them. Is a matter in court or not in court? What is the obstacle and those things? So it was more on a strategic level as an oversight body, not bothering them with regard to the details, because that the security of the investigation needed to be protected all the time. So we did not divulge that information when we were giving them presentation.
So you deal at paragraphs 12 to 13, what you under the subheading successes of the PKTT. Would you describe the PKTT as a success?
I will say the work that the team did was a good work, and the results that the team had achieved over time were good results that we could be proud of.
And would you say that its continued existence is justified?
Yes, that is correct. It still exists to date, and we're quite happy with the fact that they still exist, considering the fact that we are approaching elections. We wouldn't want that which used to happen in the past to start again.
Now, you made a presentation, a presentation was made, I think, by Brigadier Khumalo on the 5th of March before the police portfolio committee. You attended, or rather your name was on the list of attendees at that meeting, but were you privy to that presentation that Lieutenant General Khumalo did at that meeting? And you would have also seen it at Annexure NSM 4 to your statement.
Honorable Chair, members, it is true that the SAPS appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Police on the 5th of March 2025. The presentation that was made by General Khumalo as a Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence and also the leader of the Political Killings Task Team before the committee on the day was not given to me. I did not have a copy of that presentation. But I was part of that sitting of the committee, so I am aware of the presentation, of which a presentation was subsequently received after the sitting of the portfolio committee.
And you weren't present yourself, but a further similar presentation was also made on the 6th when the minister got a presentation from senior management in the police.
I do not know about the meeting of the 6th, Honorable Chair.
Just before we move on about the success of the team, did the team also operate outside of KZN?
That is correct.
Just give us some examples or tell us in which areas, other areas outside of KZN did they operate in?
The Honorable Chair, members, the National Commissioner gave the assignment to the team to go and assist with the investigation of cases at the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. And after that, there was also a request for the team to go and assist with the investigation of organized crime in Gauteng province. And also, they also assisted, they were invited to participate in an investigation of one case specific of Umtata in the Eastern Cape that they were assigned to assist on. So I know of those three interventions that the team made outside KZN.
And those, they were assigned to do that by the National Commissioner?
That's correct.
Okay. Just for the record, can I ask you to refer to Annexure NSM 2, which is on pages 23. That is a transcript of your presentation, 23 to 31. It's in volume, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, volume 2, which is the annexes to your statement. Volume 2. Page 23. And I just want to ask you to turn to page 24, the last few paragraphs, 4 or 5 paragraphs. So this is what was. Perhaps you could read it into the record from that paragraph that begins with, as a result of the excellent performance, the political killing task team has been assigned to another presidential intervention project.
Okay, I quote on this annex, as a result of the excellent performance, the political Killings Task Team has been assigned in another presidential intervention project. I can name a few: the killing of the traditional leaders in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the murders that happened in the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. Since the establishment of this political killings task team in July 2018, the team has been investigating a total of 612 case dockets. These case dockets include murders, attempted murders, intimidation, conspiracy to commit murders, and other cases. A total of 436 suspects were arrested and charged. 156 firearms were recovered, of which 55 of them were linked directly with a ballistic bullet through a forensic testing to the political related cases. An additional 35 suspects who are members of the South African Police Service were arrested. The notable one is the one who is now in prison, who has been working with a parliamentarian who was involved in the murder about the murder of one Cindy Somakaka. We are going to talk about that later. A total of 128 accused were found guilty on 106 cases. 29 accused were sentenced to life in prison. 40 accused were sentenced between 10 to 35 years. 25 accused were sentenced between 1 to 9 years. 23 accused were sentenced between 3 to 12 months.
And then, while you have that annexure there on page 25, and this is, I reference this because this is where it appears the team operates outside of the KZN. On page 25 of that annexure, almost in the middle of the page, that sentence begins with, in the year 2024, a request was received from Gauteng, an organized crime investigating unit. Do you want to read that or discuss that with us?
Yeah, well, I can indicate that in 2024, the Gauteng organized crime unit were investigating a case. That case then resulted into the threat that were directed towards the investigation team. That threat was also requested, the threat assessment and the support to the investigation team was also requested by the prosecutor that was working on the case. And subsequent to that, crime intelligence were invited to conduct a threat assessment in Gauteng. And when the threat assessment was confirmed against those detectives that were working on that case, then there were recommendations that the South African Police Service tactical units of Gauteng must provide protection to the members that were working on that case. And then crime intelligence decided to deploy counterintelligence teams to investigate further on these threats. And when they conducted that further investigation on the threat, they discovered that the threat was actually coming from some criminal syndicates that are running, that are within that province of Gauteng. As a result of that, then crime intelligence decided to register a case to investigate as part of counterintelligence investigation. And from there, because of this threat that was identified towards the investigators, and also further assessment of the threat, there was also an identification of an infiltration of some of the members of the team that were assigned to protect these detectives. They were infiltrated as well. So when that came to the fore, identified by counterintelligence, then the divisional commissioner felt that maybe he should invite the assistance of the task team in KZN to help with that part of the investigation. That is when that engagement was made and the approval was then granted that at least 10 members from this task team must go and assist in Gauteng with that investigation.
And who would the divisional commissioner have been to make that request to assist?
It was the same Gerald Khumalo as a divisional commissioner of crime intelligence and also a project lead of the task team, but knowing that he cannot just take members from the task team and send them where he needed to, so he had to ask for the members to come and assist on the investigation within crime intelligence.
Did that not create a conflict? between his position as the head of crime intelligence and also the project leader of the PKTT?
No, it did not.
Why do you say that?
He's a police officer. He works within the rules of the SAPS. That's why I'm saying that it did not, because he did not just take members from the political task team and deploy them somewhere else. He understood that these members from the political task team, they are assigned to work specific project. So if you want to make use of them, he must ask for permission for that to happen. Hence, he approached me, and hence the request to the National Commissioner before those members were released. So that's why I'm saying that there was no conflict between the two, because he asked for it.
So in what capacity did he approach you? You at the time,
He
the
approached me.
provincial commissioner of KZN.
He approached me in his capacity as a divisional commissioner of crime intelligence, because the case he was investigating was registered within crime intelligence. So it was a crime intelligence project.
Well, just looking at the statement, it wasn't it the Gauteng case? Didn't this create any jurisdictional issues?
No, the South African Police Service operates in the corners of the Republic of South Africa, so there's no jurisdiction.
But at the time when the matter was being created, this is being headed by senior police within Gauteng, and especially in the organized crime unit. Who would have been the head of the Gauteng organized crime unit?
Okay, maybe let me clarify that part. This, when it initially started, it was a case of organized crime, Gauteng, which means it's a unit that falls under the Provincial Commission, Gauteng. It's a one where there were threats on. The threats that even the prosecutor that was working on the case wrote a letter to the police management to make sure that the members are provided with security support. The Gauteng management requested crime intelligence to assist with the threat assessment. So crime intelligence provided, they helped them with the threat assessment, and the threat was confirmed. So therefore, Gauteng province had to take responsibility to protect these members, not crime intelligence. But because of what crime intelligence picked up when they're conducting the threat assessment, that seems to suggest that there looks to be some organized criminal activities that are behind this threat. Then crime intelligence registered a counterintelligence investigation. So it was no longer Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal or Limpopo, it was a counterintelligence within crime intelligence that was registered in their office, at the crime intelligence office, not under the provincial commissioner, but under the divisional commissioner of crime intelligence. So this request for the TN to come over there, it was a case that was under counterintelligence, not under the province of Gauteng. So therefore, there is no jurisdiction. The accounting executive person that accounts on that investigation is General Khumalo himself.
And to what extent would this intervention to request some of the task team members to assist in Gauteng, to what extent, or let me ask the question, did this not also engage Lieutenant General Sabia, who's the head of the detectives, and all the detectives throughout the country, and in particular in Gauteng, are accountable to him?
Maybe, Honorable Chair members, let me correct that last part.
Yeah, please do.
The General Sabia is not in charge of detectives in the country. Detectives, they fall under the provincial commissioners. So provincial commissioners are in charge of detectives. But there's a small amount of them that falls under the division, which is a divisional commissioner in charge of detectives, not the Deputy National Commissioner. But that is just correction that I wanted to make. I don't want to get deeper, Honorable Chair and members, on the how part in terms of what General Khumalo did as he was starting that investigation on the counterintelligence. Who did he engage with? General Sabia is his commander. Did he engage him or he did not engage him? I don't know, because I was not part of it. I'm just speaking on the third party as a person who was informed about what came about. But in terms of more detailed questioning with regard to the team, how it started and all that, I'll invite you to engage that with General Khumalo. But having said that, Honorable Chair and members, I must warn you, I said this is a counterintelligence investigation. So what I know for a fact is that perhaps a joint standing committee of intelligence might be a better place to get to know the details in and out of how that investigation goes about. But having said that, I'm speaking under correction. Invite General Khumalo to talk to it.
Okay, Senior Counsel. Thank you so
Excuse me,
much.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, we are an hour since you started, and I see members have been taking notes every time you ask a question. Just to check with the members if there will be any clarity-seeking question based on the questions that you have asked here. Can I rotate?
Chair, I hate to come through a point of order. Can I?
Yeah.
I think we agreed that today is the evidence leader and the general. And that if there is anything that requires agent intervention, it will be brought to attention.
Yeah.
So if no one brings anything to attention, please don't disrupt this. Because no one did anything. We were fine. We agreed evidence leader today with the general, and then tomorrow we will come with our questions. Unless the general is not audible or the question from the evidence leader is not clear, then that will be brought to attention. But for now, I think we're fine. We agreed that.
There was a member who raised a hand. That is why I'm checking with all of you so that it must not appear like I'm advantaging one member. So every time there is a member who raises a hand, it becomes an opportunity to all of you to check if you want to clarify anything. Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. No, I think firstly we have clarified the issue that I suppose Honorable Malema had forgotten. There was a principled position that even today there may be instances where some among us require clarification on certain matters. But I think what was not established, I saw on the group when you were saying after an hour at 4:20, you will check whether we've got questions. I think what we did not establish is the manner in which that is going to be handled. What I suggest, Chair, in agreeing with you, is that in instances where any of us has got a question of clarity to make, let's allow that member through you, by show of hand, allow them to raise a question. And I suggest that so that we don't delay and disrupt the proceeding, you don't make it an automatic opportunity for all of us, because that on its own might delay the proceedings. But if somebody raises hands or her hand, you are perfectly able to recognize them and let them speak for that few seconds and get clarity, and we proceed. Thank you.
Can I check, honorable members, during this window there is no hand? Okay. Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. We can proceed.
General, just without wanting to get into any detail, so this counterintelligence that you mentioned to us, were you privy to that from Brigadier Khumalo? Or was that also off limits to you?
Honorable Chair members, in this instance, we're going to refer to him as General Khumalo. He was a brigadier in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, he's now
Okay.
a general. General Khumalo was slowly briefing me about when he started, why he wanted these 10 members, but without giving the details. So I think as time went by, I started getting to know the details of what is happening with that investigation. Initially, I was not much informed about what was it about, but I became aware by default because of the letter of 31st of December that was directed towards affecting my environment. That's what led me to starting to get to know exactly what's happening in Gauteng.
Now, your press briefing on the 6th of July appears to indicate, and we'll deal with it in a bit more detail, that this is a national malaise within the South African Police Service, the infiltration of the service, the infiltration of the entire criminal justice system, all those allegations that you make. But you appear both at the press conference and in your statement, you appear only to reference or to refer to the examples of KZN and Gauteng. Is there a reason why you only do that, or is it also your evidence that this is widespread and is a national problem?
Honorable Chair, members, yes, I did address South Africans on the 6th of July 2025. I might have made a reference on incidents that seems to be affecting directly KZN and Gauteng, but I did during the press brief indicate that the criminality that exists does not only function within these two provinces, but it affects the rest of the country. Honorable Chair, members, what informed me, part of it, we are sitting in a province where one fellow police officer was traced by criminals and killed when he arrived home. May his soul rest in peace. And when we saw what was then happening at the time, we then realized that a part of the problems that the members in the Western Cape were fighting for are pretty much involved in Gauteng. They stretch from Western Cape to Gauteng. And we have many examples of them. The late general who was in this province dealing with gangsters had traced the involvement of illegal issuing of firearms by our very own Farm Control Office in Pretoria, illegal issuing of firearms to the criminals in Gauteng. And there's criminals in Gauteng that are involved in drugs, and the drugs that the Gauteng team is part of, and the drugs that do come from the borders of our country, which it's in many provinces. And so it's not necessarily a problem that was a KZN and Gauteng province. It's a problem that involved the rest of the country.
Now there's a board that is established, which is composed or comprised of all the senior officers, headed obviously by the National Commissioner, provincial commissioners, and also divisional heads. Is that right?
You talk about the Board of Commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, there is a
And
Board of
how
Commissioners.
often do you meet?
Ideally, it sits on quarterly basis, but sometimes the meetings get deferred in case of emergencies, there are ad hoc specific meetings that are called in between.
So are or have these national or these issues which you say also applies nationally, have they been raised there? Have they been discussed there? And if so, were any strategies devised to deal with them?
Which things, if I may ask, Honorable Chair, specific you're referring to?
Well, I started off by asking you whether the issue between KZN and Gauteng and this issue where the PKTT members were were seconded to Gauteng to assist, to protect, and the cartel, the drug cartel in Gauteng, whether this is only limited to that province, or whether it's also a malaise that affects the rest of the country, and you seem to indicate that is the case, and you also reference the Western Cape, and we know of the notorious gang culture here. So I'm asking whether these issues are discussed at that board level where all the senior police officers are there and you can raise these issues so that you can obviously address them, and if they are so serious that you find some way of dealing with them.
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, the Board of Commissioners has a specific agenda that it works on, and the agenda of the BOC will involve the discussions with regard to the crime in the country. We will talk about the matters that are coming from the operational section of the police, which is referred to as the National Crime Combating Forum. We will discuss matters that are coming from the administration side of the police. So majority of the issues, intelligence briefing is part of the agenda items. So matters that the Honorable, the SC is asking in relation to the cases that the political or the organized counterintelligence that we're investigating in Gauteng are part of those discussions that are taking place within the BOC through the NOC and intelligence briefings, but not in details. That's on a high level. The detailed part in terms of project on on operations are discussed within the National Crime Combating Operations structure.
And would there, when was the last such meeting?
The Board of Commissioners meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, I will have to remember. I've been so busy since July to date, but it did happen. I think at the beginning of this financial year. I'll remember the date. It could probably be around June or so. There was a meeting that took place, but I can give you the date if you really want to know the last meeting.
Well, not necessarily, but I just wanted to ask or establish or ascertain whether such a meeting was held where these issues could be raised before you went public on the 6th of July.
You're talking about the issues that are raised in public.
Yes.
Definitely those issues were not for the BOC.
Why?
Maybe I should share the agenda item for the BOC, then it would be easier for you to understand what does a BOC discuss and what does a National Crime Combating Forum discuss, and what other different forums we have in the police, what is it that they discuss. These which I spoke about on the 6th of July were matters of strictly within intelligence space, if I can use that word, but were matters that were affecting the work of the PKTT. A PKTT only working in KZN. And the only person that will know about the works of the PKTT other than General Khumalo will be the National Commissioner. And the rest of the other people, you bring a provincial commissioner of Northern Cape, of Western Cape, and you bring the PKTT into the agenda item of the meeting that these provincial commissioners are attending. It doesn't concern them much, the issues of PKTT. So those activities that we ended up talking about on the 6th of July are experiences and things that were picked up during the investigations that were conducted at the counterintelligence operation that was running in Gauteng. And subsequent to the letter of the disbandment of the team that was signed on the 31st of December.
Okay. Senior Counsel, I have a request from the members that you should speak closer to the microphone.
Oh, it was on. Can you hear me now? Sure. Sorry. Maybe I lost my voice this morning.
The members are the ones who must indicate to me if they hear you.
Thank you. So, General, perhaps it's then appropriate to move to the ministerial directive of the 31st of December 2024. Now, just before we get there, just so that we can get the chronology out of the way, up until that last interministerial committee meeting in, what was it now, September, November of 2023, the minister then would have been Minister Bheki Cele. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Would you say that he was a supporter of the PKTT?
The Minister of Police, together with the other ministers that were assigned by the President, they were quite satisfied with the work that the team was doing. I wouldn't say he was a supporter. This is no football claim. This is the police work.
Yeah. And then in 2024, we have the general elections, and subsequent to that, we have the formation of the GNU, and we have the appointment of a new minister, Minister Kzn Mkhwanazi. What was your response, if any, when you heard that he had been appointed as the Minister of Police?
I did not respond to anything. I took note.
Do you or did you know him at the time of his appointment?
Yeah, well, beside knowing the minister as the former premier of the province where I come from, but I had personally met him in his own house prior, I would say, few weeks before his appointment to the police. I was privileged to meet with him in his own house.
What was the occasion of that meeting?
It was a meeting arranged by the Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabinde. He personally wanted to introduce me to the Minister of Water Affairs. So I drove with him into his house, and we met, we drank coffee, and we got to know each other. That was that.
So, but this is, when you talk about the Chief of Staff, this is
Mr. Nkabinde.
Mr. Nkabinde, who subsequently was appointed Chief of Staff when
That's correct.
Minister Mkhwanazi was appointed. So,
Yes.
so at the time, Nkabinde wasn't yet the Chief of Staff.
Yeah, well, I was unemployed at the time.
Was he not employed? Was he unemployed?
Unemployed. Not employed, unemployed, see.
So, and you obviously knew him, Mr. Nkabinde.
Yes, I did.
How did you know him? What was your relationship with him?
I got to know Mr. Nkabinde because he was working at IPIT and he was close to the one investigator within IPIT, Mr. Mahlangu, who was working with him at the time, the late Mr. Mahlangu, who was a brother to a colleague of mine who was working in the police, was a brigadier in the police. So I then eventually got to know Nkabinde through him, and then we became close with Nkabinde as well.
Nkabinde, did he do any service in the police?
Nkabinde is a former policeman. He left the South African Police Service as a junior member as an investigator and was recruited by IPIT, and he worked at IPIT for many years, and then he left IPIT and he was unemployed after that.
What was his rank in SAPS when he was at SAPS?
I'm not sure exactly, but he was holding a junior rank. I think he was a non-commissioned officer, perhaps between the rank of sergeant and a warrant officer, but I'm speaking under correction. I'm sure if he's invited, you'll be able to give his profile. But he was one of the junior members when he left the service.
And what was the reason that he left SAPS?
I think it was greener pastures to go to IPIT. It was a higher position that he applied for.
So he became an investigator at IPIT. Who headed IPIT at the time?
Mr. Robert McBride was the boss of IP at the time.
And what would have been the reason why Mr. Nkabinde left IPID? Did he leave IPID? Was he dismissed? What was his reason for leaving?
Honorable Chair and members, I wouldn't necessarily know the details. Perhaps he will elaborate on that. I can only speak about what he told me. Of course, it was not under oath. He was talking to me as a person that was close to. His words to me was that he couldn't stand the wrong that is happening at IPID. Between his boss, Mr. Robert McBride, together with a famous Paul O'Sullivan, and the current head of IDEC investigation, Advocate Sisoko. He was just not happy with how they were doing business at IPID at the time.
So he resigned, it seems, according to you, out of frustration.
What I know is that there were issues that he was resigning and they were charging him departmentally. So there was quite a fight between him and management of IPID at the time.
And in particular, did you mention a fight between him and McBride and Paul O'Sullivan?
Well, I know of Paul O'Sullivan because he was very vocal in the media against Nkabinde. So I don't know about Mr. McBride exactly what was the issue because, well, I never spoke to him. Like I'm saying, I'm taking from what Nkabinde was telling me. Whether is that the fact or not, I do not know. If he comes here and come and explain, and Mr. McBride come and explain, perhaps Mr. Sisoko, Advocate Sisoko comes and explain, they might share light as to what was the reason and how did they part ways with Nkabinde. But what I know is that there was trouble there that involved him and eventually left.
And after he left IPID, was he unemployed for a period, or did you assist him in finding another job?
Yeah, well, he was unemployed at the time, so he was just engaging on his own. I couldn't get him a job. I'm a civil servant, so I couldn't afford to, I did not have contacts to help him get a job. But I know that he was unemployed. I just cannot remember the duration, but he was unemployed for some time, up until he received that phone call from the minister to appoint him as a chief of staff, where he shared with me as well.
Now, before his appointment there, you were close friends, did you say?
Well, he was a person that I was acquainted to. I was talking to him more often. He will share a lot of things, especially with regard to the work he was doing at IPID. So I ended up knowing more about those things. But in terms of his private life, you know, what he does, I know he goes to church. Which church he goes to, I don't know. So I'm not that close to him to get to know those other private part of him. But in terms of the professional side of things, I got to know him. I said I knew him because of his colleague, Mr. Nhlanhla, who was working with him. So the relationship between me and him was more of a colleague relationship we had.
Okay. And the meeting that he arranged for you to meet with then Minister of Water and Sanitation, Senzo Mkhunu, how did that come about? Did you, did you know that Nkabinde has a relationship, or what was his relationship with Minister Mkhunu, then Minister of Water and Sanitation?
Honorable Chair and members, the Senior Counsel is asking me some of the things that he's asking are not necessarily in my statement, but I will talk to it because I took an oath, although they are not here, but they can be investigated and proven to be correct. Honorable Chair and members, what the SC is asking me about what Mr. Nkabinde told me about how he got to know the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhunu. Of course, it's something I'm going to present here, which I still need to establish myself the facts of what he had told me, which I have not finalized it yet. I'm still part of establishing the facts. But the fact is, he and Mr. McBride had flown, they took a flight from Gauteng, and they landed in Durban, and they traveled from Durban to Mbange at the minister's residence. And they went to meet the minister to go and tell him about the criminal investigation that the two of them were busy with at IPID. And it will appear that at the time that the minister might have been implicated on that case. But the two of them had somehow have some working arrangement with the minister. That's what brought the three of them close to each other. That's how the relationship came about. Well, I didn't believe much of what he told me. He mentioned that, and of course I asked, I said, but what type of a case, what is this that you were busy with? And he said there was a death of someone in KZN, and the minister at the time was accused to have interfered with the destruction of an evidence, a crucial evidence that was there. And that led into, because there was a police officers, bodyguards that were involved, that were working with the minister at that time when he was a premier. That led into the involvement of IPID, because IPID will ordinarily investigate cases that involve police. So that's how IPID came involved in that case, because there was a complaint of the police involvement on the wrong. So in their investigation, it led into some degree an act that the premier at the time have done wrong. That what made them to be close to each other. But as to the reason why they never arrested the premier at the time, I don't have the details of it. As I say, it's part of the things that I'm still making inquiries on, because he had not given me the case number at the time when he was telling me that. He just mentioned that that's how they got to know each other. The relationship started from there. To my surprise is that there is a one former chief of staff of the police, of the Minister of Police at the time, who also confirmed the same thing to me recently, not a few weeks ago. He said that Mr. Nkabinde shared the same thing with him. So that made me realize it means the relationship between him and the minister was formed out of an investigation that Nkabinde was doing. That's how they got to know each other. Because at the time, Nkabinde was not a politician, although of late I see him wearing political party t-shirts, but he was not a politician at the time.
And was it at the time that Minister Mkhwanazi was the Minister of Water and Sanitation, or was it at the time that he was the Premier? We know he was the Premier of KZN.
Are you talking about when they got to know each other?
Yeah, this other incident, I think earlier you mentioned the word Premier.
No, I'm saying that the incident
Yes.
allegedly happened at the time when the minister was a premier.
Okay.
But I think the time when Mr. Nkabinde, together with Mr. Robert Mkhwanazi, according to Nkabinde's words, not mine, when they went to meet with the minister, he was no longer a PM at the time. So I do not know where he was a minister of water or was minister of public service, but he was no longer a premier when they met with him. So that's how the relationship started, the two of them. Otherwise, the minister did not know Nkabinde, and Nkabinde didn't know the minister, but their relationship started on the day.
So when this phone call happened between you and Nkabinde, was Nkabinde unemployed?
Which phone call, sir?
To set up this meeting with the minister who was then Minister of Water and Sanitation, where you had coffee with the minister, you were invited to his house.
Yeah, he was unemployed, yes. Nkabinde, when he took me to the minister. Yeah, Nkabinde was not working at the time.
So was that call coming from him, or was that a request that you made of him to go and meet with the minister?
No, it's Nkabinde that wanted me, since I'm a provincial commissioner in the province and he knows the minister, so he wanted, after he told me how they got to know each other, they're very close, that he wanted to demonstrate to me that they are indeed close. So I drove with him, and I didn't have a problem in getting to the minister. So that's how I got to meet the minister.
And what business did you have to discuss with the minister in your capacity as the provincial commissioner?
No, nothing. It was just get to know the minister. I'm here, I'm a provincial commissioner here. I know that you're close to Nkabinde. He told me that you are close to each other. That's why we're here today. So other than that, there was nothing else. We just sat there and we talked general, and from there we left.
What was your impression of the minister at the time?
Well, I was convinced that the two of them know each other very well, him and Nkabinde. Well, because Nkabinde told me that they are close, I had to get a confirmation on the day that indeed they are close. So that's why when the minister phoned him, allegedly, when he called him to ask him to be his chief of staff, Nkabinde phoned me and he asked me, what does chief of staff do? Because he had no clue what's the chief of staff.
When did Kabini tell you that he was the chief of staff or was going to be appointed chief of staff?
Yeah, he said the minister wants him to be a chief of staff. He wants to appoint him as a chief of staff, and he had no clue what is a chief of staff.
And was that before the minister was appointed minister of?
Before he was sworn in.
Before he was sworn in.
That's correct.
So how long before the minister was sworn in as Minister of Police did Kabindi tell you that Minister Nkunu was going to be appointed?
Yeah, no, I will not remember the date. I will not remember the date. But I think it was before the official announcement was made, because it was in the evening when he phoned me.
What was your reaction?
The first was the chief of staff does administration, and I believe you're a policeman. I don't know whether you're going to deal with administration things on one side. On the other side, whether do you know how to give advices on strategic issues of departments. At the time, I knew the minister was working in water affairs. And I asked him, so if you're going to give advice on ministers on issues of water affairs, I don't know if what you know about that business and so forth. So then it came out later that actually he was not going to Home Affairs, he was coming to the police.
So when the announcement was made that Senzo Mkhunu was going to be appointed Minister of Police, you were not surprised?
Yeah, well, I'm never surprised on any appointment, so it didn't bother me. It's the president that decides, so there's no expectation, so therefore there's no surprise.
Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson, may we have a short comfort break? And also the other issue I asked you offline, because we scheduled to have a meeting with General Sabia at 6. So one of us will have to attend to that meeting.
I want us to push until very late. No, it's just on a lighter note. I grant you the comfort break.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's just a short break
No,
also for Ms. Mkhwanazi to
I'm giving
gather
you
stuff and
the other details you will share with me. I'm giving you 15 minutes, honorable members.
thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General. We are going to have a comfort break for 15 minutes.